Hey guys, thanks for purchasing your Cinco de Mayo grill at your house package for Cinco de Mayo. I just wanted to go ahead and give you a couple tips on this stuff we packaged for you. So all your proteins are going to come already marinated. There's some tricks with these. For the flank steak, it's got a pretty oily marinade, so I like to take a clean paper towel and just kind of dab some of that off. The flavor's already in there, so you don't need to worry about that, but this oil will tend to flame up and give it a real active flavor that's real off-putting. So this is ready to go. The last thing I want to do with this is sprinkle a little salt. Just a little kosher salt, both sides, like that. And then the other key to any beef you're grilling, you want to bring it up to room temperature before you throw it on the grill. It turns out a better product. The Chipotle chicken, it's ready to go. Just a little bit of salt, both sides. And you see I like to keep all my proteins separated, so avoid cross-contamination and spreading of diseases. The grilled tilapia, marinated tilapia is marinated with our chili spices oil. This is ready to go. And then our portobello mushrooms, we'll keep them totally off to the side because we don't want them to touch any of the meat. This has our chili spice and a little vegetable oil. When we get to the grill, I want you to know you always want to get that grill nice and hot, about 500 to 550. And then make sure your proteins are ready, make sure everything's in place. You have your tongs, you got a towel, and then we're going to go to the grill. All right, so here we are at the grill. As I said, the grill is nice and hot. All these meats have some oil on them, so they're not going to stick really good. We're going to start with our flank steak. It's going to take the longest to cook. So lay it down there. Get the chicken thigh going. We'll use a different tongs to start the mushrooms. Again, avoid cross-contamination. We're going to start with these head down. Look at it going like that. For the fish, I like to use my hands with a gloved hand. Just easier to lay them down. Fish won't take very long at all. When I'm grilling, I like to keep all my meats facing the same way, so I know if I've turned them or not, because halfway through this side I'm going to turn it 90 degrees, and then that way I remember where I'm at with that piece. Okay, so the thing I want to do here is I want to let these sit on the grill and cook. I don't need to mess with it, I don't need to play with them. I really want them to sit on the individual piece of iron that they're on, and that iron is going to sear the steak and the fish there, and that's where your flavor is going to come from. And you see this flank steak here, you see this oil coming up like this, flames coming up. That's because there's still a little bit of oil there. That's why we wiped it off almost completely. We don't want it to burn up. If it gets too hot, you're going to just burning the outside and not really cooking it, and it gets a weird smell and taste. Okay, so I will resist from turning these still. The fish are going a little faster. Again, different grills have different hot spots usually. If you know your grill, you know where that is. You want to start with the hot spot, get that sear on, and then you want to move to the cooler spot to kind of cook through without burning too much on the outside. Okay, so we can start to look at this tilapia here. Okay, we test it to see if it's going to give up off the grid or not. So these ones are in a hotter spot. Looks like they'll come off pretty good. And then we'll just get another spatula and flip them. You see we got our nice grill marks on there. And we're not going to get crisscross on those because they cook too quickly. Now the flank steak, we're ready to go. We got the nice grill mark on there. I'm going to turn it the other way. We know where we're at with that. We know we haven't turned these chickens yet because they're still facing that way. It's a little cooler down here on our grill. These are just sticking a little bit here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and turn our chicken now. So our nice marks on there, looking good. This is chicken thigh we're using. If it does want to stick on you, just kind of work it, it'll come off. What you don't want to do is leave a lot of that on there like that. Get a little hotter spot up here. You can hear it sear when you throw it down. Okay, we can turn our mushrooms now. I can feel they're hot, they're cooking a little bit here. Okay. Now these fish are actually done. It's been about, I'm gonna guess about 5-6 minutes. But they're ready to go. They don't take very long at all. The flank steak we're looking for medium rare to medium. Probably about, 5-6 minutes each side. If you want it done a little more, leave it on a little longer. These fish are done. So you can see we're going to be practicing social distancing with our portobello mushrooms to keep them separate from everything. Again, cross-contamination. A lot of people that make that choice are vegetarians, and they don't want any of the meat hitting that. We do the same thing in the restaurants. We keep them all separate. Okay, so I flip the chicken. Chicken and the steak have about the same amount of time to cook. About 5-6 minutes on each side. The chicken we want to get to an internal temperature of 165 degrees. If you have a thermometer at home, meat thermometer, we'll stick it in there. We can tell by touch usually, but it's always safe to make sure your chicken's cooked all the way through. I'm gonna give these mushrooms a flip now to see how they're looking. So we got some nice X's on there. We can't get full surface contact with the grill because of the shape of the mushroom. But as it cooks more, it'll let some of that water out and it'll start to shrivel up a little bit. Again, the biggest thing people make mistakes with when they're grilling is they always want to move the meat and touch it and poke it. You just really, honestly, just let it sit. Let it cook. Let the flame do its job. You got to get that sear, that flavor. The more you squeeze and poke at it, the more the juices come out. You don't want that. All right, I'm gonna get my second turn on this flank steak here. So this flank steak has, when you look at the steak, there's usually a fatter end and a thinner end. This was the fatter end. You may get one that's the other side, which is gonna be a little thinner and take a little bit less time to cook. All right, guys, so we cut out for a little bit to let this cook, just not waste any more of your time. But we got these meats to a good spot here. If you want to look at this flank steak, I'll show you what it's doing here. So when it gets to a certain point, it starts giving these juices out. And that's when you know you're getting real close to being ready. The chicken, we give it a touch with our finger. I can feel that's almost ready. We'll temp it here, see where we're at. When you temper your meat, you always want to get to the fattest spot to make sure. If you do this skinny spot, it might breathe high, and the inside might still be raw. Okay, so we're at 152, so a couple more minutes on that. You see what these mushrooms are doing now here around the tips and the edges? They're starting to give off some moisture too, meaning that internal liquid is coming out and they're finishing cooking. I can see the bottom of the gills. I'm getting it nice. I'm going to turn these, and that's going to go about another minute. I'm going to flip this one more time, this flank here, just to I don't want to overcook on that side. All our edges are seared at this point, so we can flip it. We're going to go 30 seconds and pull this off. Okay, so here we are. We're done now. These are all cooked thoroughly. You can see the mushrooms have taken a different little color, and they are starting to really bubble around in here. That's showing that they're done. We're going to remove those now. And this flank steak, it's right where I like it. And the chicken should be at 165. Double check, it feels like it is. Oh yeah, 166. So that's good. Remove these. Place them on our cutting board here. Still gonna keep them separate. We don't want all their juices kind of rolling into each other. We don't mind living like that. Again, our portobellos are totally separate. We don't want them anywhere near this. Since the fish was done early, we're not gonna be eating this, but if you do it at home, you can either start a little later or you can put a little foil tent over this so it stays nice. And anytime we're grilling meats like this, you always have to let them rest before you cut into them or else all the juices will escape. So we're gonna let these sit for a second. We'll do the flank steak last. That's more important for the beef. You can see some of those juices there. If we started cutting it, all the juice would be all over this cutting board right now. We don't want that. But the chicken should be good to go. So we're gonna chop this up real quick. For the chicken, all we really want to do is nice little cubes. So we'll hold it here with the tongs, so we'll cut our hand off. Cut it one way, then we'll turn it. And we can just move it out of the way. Put it in a container if we had one. Okay, so Jerry, we're gonna get in there. You can see how nice and juicy this chicken is. Nice and steamy still. Now this flank steak, still want to let it rest a little bit, so we're gonna go ahead and wipe off our knife. Clean up our board. Make a new spot for the steak. We really want to let this rest about 5 to 10 minutes. You can see the juice here. It's all wanting to come out. If we cut it now, it will all come out. So we'll let it rest for a second. Now the key to cutting this flank steak is you want to cut it against the grain. So the grain on this one is running this way. So we're going to cut it this way. We're going to cut it nice and thin so it's nice and tender. We're going to cut it in half here. Get a good gauge of how well rested we are. You see how it's cooked perfect, but you can see the juices want to run. You can get a better view of the grain here that I'm talking about. The grain of the beef goes that way, the fibers. So if we cut it this way, it would be very tough and hard to eat. When we cut it this way against the grain, it's going to be nice and delicious. Okay, so you can see when I cut it, those juices are starting to run a little bit. If you're okay with that, it's fine. We could let it rest a little bit longer, just so you know. But in the sense of this recording, we're going to go ahead and cut it. And again, you want it nice and thin. Okay, so you get a bunch of tacos out of this. You put 2 or 3 slices per taco. You can see that's a nice medium there. Again, leave it on longer if you want it to go a little over. The longer you cook it, the more dried out it's going to get. You want some of that nice flavor in there. That's all I have for you guys. Happy Cinco.